doing more work on the 14 horsepower. Just taking this guard off, absolutely horrendous to get off. I think all the fasteners were the original 1930s one. I don't think that guard's ever been off before, and it's about 4 inches of crud all around it. But one of the things is these firewall mounts here are cracked. And the odd thing is that the bolts have been taken out from the bottom. The rest of it's all intact. And of course it's the same around this side. And you can see that actually moves around. And when you put it back against the body of the frame of the body, it closes the gap up. So I need to make up some proper steel bracing for that to go around that corner and have it re-welded on. And while I'm at it, somebody's done this awful repair down here on the frame. And this I'm gun shy of. I was actually going to get rid of the car over this, but decided to hang on. There's a crack in the frame here, but it stops. I don't know if that's in focus, I can't see from here, but it stops here. So I might drill the end of that crack, V that out and re-weld it, and I'll have another one of these braces made up on a flatbed laser sheet metal cutting apparatus. And so I'll make it so it's the same as the holes in the frame and have it welded all around as well as around those holes. I'll make the holes in this a little bit larger. So that can all be done. I thought originally it had been hit, but it looks like it's a stress fracture. The suspension support being right underneath it. So slowly but surely. With these old cars, you tend to pull them apart any way you can. I'm having trouble separating this joint. I couldn't get that knuckle out of there, and I can't knock that and push that down. It won't come down. I can use a press at work, but I haven't got that here, so I'm just sort of undoing parts. I'm just going to get one linkage off. Well, everything's pretty well jammed up, but I have found I can take it off at the pitman arm, which is cool. I'll just take it all out as one, and just so that it, got some peace of mind that it's going to steer where you tell it to. So now it's just a question of I think that I'm not about that. I've got that one loose too. That's good. Now it's just a question of just dropping the front end basically. Stay in there, I think. As it's unbolted, it doesn't really. Whoops, not supposed to happen. Done. Okay, so I'm at a bit of a standstill with the Falcon here. I'm waiting on a friend to come and do some welding with me. So I'm turning my attention to the 14. You can see it's sort of buried under there a little bit. And I've had a lot of issue with this bolted plate. In fact, the chassis is cracked all the way through. And this is really one reason why you need to be a member of a car club. Now, I'm a member of the Wolseley Car Club in Victoria, and it is absolutely terrific. A lot of car clubs have people that are interested in the hierarchical sort of side of the club and picking a car and saying this is correct and that's not correct. There's none of that nonsense goes on with the Wolseley guys. They're purely interested in the mark and getting them back on the road. The other positive thing about this club is they're supportive of any classic cars. Now I've got a couple of Fords, an MG, an Austin, all sorts of stuff, and they're always very interested and supportive of that. So you should really do yourself a favour and join them. This is just basically dust, so it doesn't matter if it goes down the drain. So give it a bit of a clean. I must say, I'm pretty pleased. I've got a great foundation here for building the car. So I'll just go and pull the front suspension. I've got a cross member here for mine. Not a cross member, sorry, a front end here for mine, which I'll recondition. I'll take this one back to the shed. But not a bad start. So this frame's looking pretty good. A couple of areas though, it has had rust in the past down here. Now that's been painted over. Looks like it's been treated properly before they've painted it. But anyway, I've got some 3mm plate, and I'm going to box it by sort of welding that in under there like that, and that'll give it a bit more strength in that area. You have to be careful when we do this that we don't warp it. And also on the other side, in this area here, there's a bit of rust sitting there, so I think we'll cut this back. It's not that tight in that corner there. Tidy that up and sort of sit that in there. Let's box this area here as well on both sides. So we'll end up with a symmetrical work that should look as close to factory as possible. I just don't trust, when you get something painted, you need to see what's underneath it. There's a bit of pitting here, but that's certainly solid and sound to weld to. So I'm going to take all the paint off this frame, do the repairs, and then cover it all in Pour 15. Tidying up that corner, I can get this right in there and butt it up. I might have to put a little bit of cut a bit of an angle on it, but I want to get this so it fits neatly in this area here, so we can sort of come along here and down. So make absolutely sure that it's all square. It's a tiny bit off square. I'll just put that there for now. So when I measure this up against it, I'm right on the money. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's good. So I can just measure. Cut that out, but I wait until I cut the plate to see how it fits, and I'll just take a few measurements, that's all, so I know exactly what I'm up against. So I'm on 98, it's 98mm, and down here is the same, so I'll cut that at 98mm, and to double and triple check, I'm just going to put that in there and mark that by eye, and that should be 98 as well. I don't want to cut it dead on. Perfect. I don't want to cut it and then figure out I'm wrong. It's important when you cut this stuff to cut slowly, because if you go hammering into it, you'll break the disc and bits go flying everywhere. And also just deburr it so you get a nice clean cut. There we go. We'll just stitch weld that on, just the same as the rest of the frame's done. And maybe a few along here. I'll see what Michael says. That looks pretty good. I'll make another one for the other side. And the two front ones, and I reckon that'll do the frame. This is the front part of the chassis. I've cut there like an idiot, so it's got to be welded up. But this is the original part that went in there, and it was all, you can see this, it's all sort of corroded, and there's little holes and all that sort of stuff. The guy that had it before me, the people that had it before me, have just sort of primed or etched and painted over that, and I didn't want that. I made up this new piece here. I should probably have got it cut on a laser cutter, to put the circles in, but I haven't. And I've beveled areas of it. That should fit neatly in. I've beveled areas of it where these parts are. Where the old wells are, I haven't beveled it, so we can sort of get in there with a welder, but I've also sort of beveled all down here and down the front as well, and that'll sit neatly in there. The body covers this, you don't actually see this part, but I've just the rusted areas, there's another rusted area that's sort of got that pitting along the inside, and I'll box the inside like I did at the back, or box the other side, sorry, like I did at the back over there, but that's that'll fit really neatly in. I might have to settle with it and curve it a little bit. There you go, that'll fit really neatly in and give it a nice flush sort of profile, but that'll give it a bit more strength than it had before, and of course it's nice new 3mm plate. Now there was nothing wrong with this side. I put this in because the other side has rust in the bottom, like I said before, and it'll give it symmetry. So this one's nice and smooth. Once the frame's all pour 15'd, you'll barely notice this. This will look really good and it'll fit in well. So I've had this actually sort of edge primed it and put this black coating on. I've got to get in here. I wanted to strip it off and just have a good look at the frame, and I want to coat the thing in pour 15. This is the first video of the actual restoration of the 14. I've done a couple of other videos on it where I was putting loose bits and pieces together for the car, just because I got it in a million bits, and basically there was container loads of nuts and bolts, and I needed to ascertain where everything went. Also, to recap, the frame on this car is affected. There was a plate bolted in years ago. I've taken it off and rebolted it because the whole leg is very loose, and I need a proper frame table and all sorts of things to realign it. So it was much easier and more cost effective to get this other frame, thanks to the Wolseley Car Club. So I've got to take this body off this frame. But to start with, I'm going to revamp this one. It's the same model car, and from there we can rebuild the car. Now, one of the other things I can do, or one of the things I was a bit worried about, was I wanted to build the frame up, plumb it, do all the electrical, the axles, all that sort of stuff, and then put the body on, but I'm not going to do that. I need to make sure the body fits, which sort of flies in the face of what I'm doing, because normally you would check that before you did anything, but I can't even get the car out, because at the moment it's a storage area for this car I'm restoring at the moment as well. But we'll take the doors off and we'll put the frame on. Hopefully it all fits properly, and I can, even with the body on, I can plumb this, I can do everything I need to do, because you can put the body on without the floor and the firewall, so it's just a shell over the top of the frame. I can also paint it and get it ready that way. And so this is the first video of the actual restoration of the 14. Okay, here's the 14 frame. We've finished doing some welding. Got to tidy these welds up and do all the pour 15, paint it and so forth. A lot goes on in these chassis in terms of, we have a body mount there, we have an engine mount here, and a suspension hanger there. Now this puts a great deal of pressure in this area here, so there was a weld under here going all the way up, and I'm assuming that there was a stress fracture there. Put this sort of gusset cum brace in. That's all been sort of stitch welded and plug welded all the way through, just to give it a bit more reinforcement, and I've done the same over this side here. So hopefully that gives it all the reinforcement it needs. Now, in order to protect this, I have to coat it with a chassis paint. I'm using pour 15, rust preventative. It's the best stuff you can get for this sort of thing. This can's distorted and it's not sealing very well, so I bought myself a new can to house it in. All we do is we brush it on. Now, with these brushes, the system requires 2 coats to be effective. And what that means is I can put this brush in the fridge. Oh, that's flaky there. I can put this brush in the fridge and reuse it again in a few hours. Now, after that, rather than using pour solvent, I'm just going to throw the brush out. Now, this chassis was coated in a yellow primer type stuff, and a black chassis paint on top. Now, normally what I was going to do is I was going to strip the whole lot off and start again, but I've decided against that because the when we welded the oh, I'm dripping. When we welded the stuff, it didn't burn very far. It's actually really tough stuff. So I'm just going to take it or grind it all back to the. I'm just going to grind it back to where the stress points are. And if that's all good, I'm just going to coat the whole thing again with this. I don't think I need to coat the whole thing in 415 over bare metal, because I think this other stuff they've used on it's really good. So I'm just going to continue along like this, and I'll get back on in a second. Well, that's looking a lot better. It's quite well known that a lot of engineers won't approve modifications to chassis and so forth unless there's no paint. The reason for that is so they can see the bare metal, they can see exactly what's been altered and what hasn't. And so on these stressed areas around all these mounts, I've taken the paint off. I want to have a good look in there. Now I can recoat that. The chassis shouldn't need engineering. It hasn't been modified, it's just been repaired, so hopefully, you know, there's no issue with that. But it's just a matter of coating them all, and it should be Bob's your uncle. Okay, you can see the repairs there, the plates and so forth. I've only got one coat on. It's a two-coat system. There's another one in there. Two-coat system. I'm just going to key the rest of the frame back, and I'll do the whole thing again. And it should look nice and complete then. Now when you buy 415, it comes with a bunch of warnings, and one of them is that only time will remove it from skin. If you get it on your skin, it won't hurt, but you never get it off. So you have to be really careful. You can get it off when it's wet with the 415 solvent, maybe a normal thinner, I'm not too sure, but you have to make sure you don't get it on your skin, because it's difficult to get off. You know, sometimes when you're older, some of the foods you liked when you were young, you still really enjoy. In my case, jam sandwiches. Mum never let me have them when I was a kid, but I still enjoy eating them. Look, I'm going to leave it there. In the next chapter we'll have the chassis stripped further. I'll take all the front end off, flip it upside down, I'll rub it all back, and I'll paint it, and then we can start looking at some disassembly. See you later.